Imagine for a second that you wake up tomorrow morning. You roll out of bed, pour your coffee, and you turn on the news.
Right.
And the breaking story isn't about the economy. It's not about politics. It's not even a celebrity scandal. The headline is, the animals have organized.
And not in like a cute way.
No, not at all. I don't mean a few cats meowing at your back door. I mean a global, coordinated summit.
It sounds like the start of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? Or maybe a Pixar film.
Exactly. The elephants, the ants, the whales, the chimps, they have all gathered in the Amazon rainforest. And they have decided, collectively that they've had enough.
Enough of human management, and they're calling us to the table to explain ourselves.
It's a terrifying thought if you actually sit with it for a minute.
But what if that fable, that story, was actually grounded in hard, undeniable data? That's the premise we're unpacking today.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are getting into a book called The Awakening, Securing the Living Earth by Mahendra Shah. And look, on the surface, it reads like a modern-day Animal Farm. It's an allegory. But as we went through it, what really struck me is that this isn't just a story. It's a philosophical plea wrapped in some really intense environmental realities.
It is. And honestly, to really get the weight of this book, you have to understand where it came from. Because the origin story is almost as fascinating as the book itself.
It really is.
It didn't start in a writer's room in Hollywood. It started at, one of the most important political gatherings of the 20th century.
Right. Let's take you back. We're talking June 1992, the Rio Earth Summit.
Which is basically the Woodstock of environmental policy.
Totally. And the author, Mahendra Shah, he wasn't just an observer in the crowd. He was a special advisor to Maurice Strong,
the Secretary General of the summit. So he's in the room where it happens, deeply involved in the machinery of it all.
And he had just presented a report on something called Agenda 21.
Which, for those who don't know, was this massive, comprehensive roadmap for sustainable development.
And his presentation was a hit. The diplomats loved it. Big applause. But that night, the mood, it shifted.
What happened?
He went to a side event with a bunch of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and a speaker there stood up and basically just dropped a reality bomb.
Okay.
They said, look, all these political agreements are great. The paperwork looks fantastic. But as long as there's this massive disparity in wealth and resource consumption between the rich and poor, nothing is actually going to change.
It's the classic actions speak louder than words moment.
Precisely. And that comment just stuck with Shah. It gnawed at him. And this is the part I love. He goes back to his hotel, falls asleep, and his subconscious just takes over.
He has a dream.
A vivid one. In the dream, he sees animals gathering in the Amazon.
Yeah.
They invite the humans to a meeting.
And the humans ignore them.
Of course. Classic us, too busy. Until the animals issue a warning.
What was the warning?
They said, we have biological defenses.
Yeah.
We can fight back. And that's when the humans finally show up.
Wow. It's such a powerful image because we usually think of nature as this, passive victim, the polar bear on the melting ice. Yeah. But this flips the script and says, no, nature is a sleeping giant.
It does. But here's where the story gets really cinematic. The next day, Shah is in Rio, standing outside the Grand Sheraton Hotel, probably still thinking about this dream, and a black limousine pulls up.
And who steps out?
None other than Jane Fonda and Ted Turner.
The absolute power couple of the 1990s.
So Shah gets in the car, which is a flex in itself, and they start talking about the summit. And Jane Fonda asks him the million-dollar question, do you think any of these goals will actually be achieved?
And he tells him about his dream. About the animals calling humanity to account.
And Ted Turner, who founded CNN, so he knows a good story, looks at him and says, are you sure that was a dream? It sounds like a warning.
And Jane Fonda immediately says he should turn it into a book. She even compares it to Animal Farm right there in the limo.
Turner also gave him some practical advice, told him to register the copyright immediately, which Shah did back in June 2003. So this idea has been marinating for decades.
And that context is so crucial for you, the listener, because when we dive into chapter 1, which is really the foundation for the whole book, you can feel that frustration.
You really can.
The chapter title asks a question that seems so simple but is actually incredibly loaded. Why do we call non-humans animals?
Yeah, let's unpack that, because when I first read that, I'll be honest, I kind of rolled my eyes a little. I thought, okay, are we arguing semantics now?
Right.
I use the word animal every single day. I don't think twice about it.
Right.
But the book argues that this word is actually a trap.
A linguistic trap, yeah.
Yeah.
And a psychological one. Shaw's argument is that the word animal is designed to draw a line.
A hierarchy.
Exactly, a hierarchy. By labeling everything else as animal, we're implicitly saying they're beneath us. It creates a psychological distance that lets us detach.
So by using that label, we're sort of giving ourselves permission to treat them differently.
Precisely. It's a mechanism for moral disengagement. If they are just animals, then we don't have to feel as guilty about using them for food or work or testing or sport.
It allows us to look without really seeing.
Yes, if you call it an animal, it's a resource. But if you call it a being or a cousin, suddenly the ethics get a lot more complicated.
And the flip side of that is what we call ourselves. The book points out we refer to our own species as Homo sapiens. Do you know what that translates to?
The wise ones.
The wise ones. I mean, that's a pretty bold self-assessment, isn't it? It's like giving yourself a world's best boss mug before you've even hired anyone.
It's incredibly arrogant when you look at the evidence. And that is the central tension of Chapter 1. We call ourselves the wise ones to set ourselves apart.
We point to our skyscrapers, our satellites, our digital maps, and we say, look at this progress. Look how smart we are.
But the book creates this paradox. It says, essentially, you call yourselves wise, but look at what you're doing to your own home.
Right. It challenges the very definition of wisdom. Is it wise to build a skyscraper if you had to destroy a million-year-old ecosystem to do it?
And the text makes a really poignant point here. For everything we have built, something was erased. We measure the building, we rarely measure the erasure.
And the source material just hits us with hard data to back that up.
Yeah.
This isn't just, feelings. It's facts. For example, in 2023 alone, we lost 4 million hectares of tropical forest.
And that's just in the Amazon and Congo basins.
Just to put that in perspective for you, 4 million hectares is roughly the size of Switzerland.
The entire country of Switzerland.
Gone. An entire country of ancient trees and biodiversity just shaved off the face of the earth in 1 year.
It's staggering. And it's not just the land. The book talks about the oceans. We are looking at 170 trillion plastic particles floating in the sea.
170 trillion. I mean,
You can't even picture it. The number becomes abstract.
It does, but the consequences aren't abstract. The text mentions fishing boats are returning with half their usual catch in some areas because the ecosystems are collapsing.
We're not just making the water dirty, we're emptying it. And what about the air? The WHO estimates 9 out of 10 people are breathing polluted air.
The one that really scared me in the nose was at the bees.
Oh, the pollinators. Yes.
This is a terrifying glimpse into what the loss of nature actually looks like.
We're seeing species collapse to the point where, in some regions, farmers are having to hire people to hand-pollinate trees.
Hand-pollinate? That sounds like something out of a dystopian sci-fi novel.
Yeah.
Like people climbing ladders with little paintbrushes.
Exactly that. And just think about the inefficiency of that. Nature gave us a workforce, bees, that does this job perfectly, for free, forever.
And the wise ones
Poisoned that workforce with pesticides and habitat destruction, so now we have to pay humans to do a slower, worse version of that job.
That is the ultimate irony, isn't it? We're smart enough to invent artificial pollination, but foolish enough to kill off the bees that do it for free.
Our wisdom looks outward to space, to technology, but it forgets to look back at the earth that keeps us alive.
It feels like we're at a tipping point. And the book actually frames this as a crossroads. It says we have to choose between two paths.
Right. It's no longer about what we know, it's about how we live.
Okay, let's break those paths down. The book categorizes humanity into two archetypes, the disruptors and the harmonious.
These are really useful definitions. Let's start with the disruptors.
Who are they? Is this just the villains from a Captain Planet episode?
Okay, no, it's a mindset, really. The disruptors are those who believe that control is progress. They view the earth as like a warehouse of infinite resources.
Okay.
They take what they want, timber, water, minerals, faster than the earth can replenish it. Their growth leaves this trail of thinning life behind them.
So they're the ones saying, we can engineer our way out of this while continuing to consume.
Exactly. They think technology will save us from the damage that technology caused. It's very linear thinking. Take, make, waste.
And the harmonious.
The harmonious are those who don't claim ownership of the earth. They understand that the land has a rhythm, and they try to match their steps to it.
It's not that they don't build or grow.
No, they're not living in caves. But they do it without taking more than they need. They view nature as something to respect, not to manage.
It sounds like the harmonies are playing the long game.
Exactly. And the book presents this not as a political choice, this isn't left versus right, but as an existential one.
The Earth doesn't care about our GDP. It cares about balance.
Precisely. The future will respond to the path we choose, regardless of our laws or our borders.
You know, speaking of balance, there's another section in Chapter 1 that I think every listener will relate to. It's about the cognitive dissonance we have.
The pet versus pest thing.
Yes. This is a fascinating psychological deep dive. We have this really complex, contradictory relationship with non-humans.
On one hand, we use animals as symbols of strength and nobility. We put eagles on flags. We name sports teams the Tigers or the Bears.
Right. Go Tigers.
But then we pave over the tiger's actual forest without a second thought.
We admire the symbol, but we destroy the reality.
And then look at our homes. We have dogs and cats that we treat like family. We buy them premium food. We give them medical care. We mourn them when they die. That's the pet.
But if a mouse comes into the kitchen,
it's a pest. We set a trap. We poison it. The biological difference between the mammal on your lap and the mammal in your wall is negligible.
they both feel pain, they both feel fear.
But the label pet versus pest determines whether it gets love or death. It's totally arbitrary.
And the book argues this is speciesism.
Yeah, it's a form of hypocrisy where we decide which lives matter based entirely on our own convenience. We protect whales because they're majestic, but we fill the ocean with plastic that kills the krill and the smaller fish that the whales need to survive.
It's a double standard that we just live with every day.
And there's a specific example in the text that connects this hypocrisy to our greatest technological achievements, the chimpanzee.
Oh, this part. This is one of the most heartbreaking parts of Chapter 1. The text includes a quote from a chimpanzee character in the book, and it really just stops you in your tracks.
What's the quote?
"You flew to space because we went first. But when you returned, you forgot the animals who built your ladder to the stars."
Oof. That hits hard. We all know about the space monkeys, the astrochimps.
Ham and specifically. In the late 50s and early 60s, before we risked a human life, we strapped these chimpanzees into rockets.
They were launched into space to test if humans could survive the G-forces, the environment. They endured incredible stress, isolation. They were the pioneers.
They were the test pilots who didn't volunteer.
Exactly. And what happened to them? The book uses this to illustrate that theme of using and discarding.
We use their biology to ensure our safety, to achieve our giant leap for mankind. But did we grant chimpanzees rights afterwards? Did we stop destroying their habitats?
No. We took the ladder they built, we climbed up it, and then we kicked it away.
And in the context of the book, this is what fuels the summit. It's not just about pollution, it's about betrayal.
Exactly. It's the sense that human greatness is built on the backs of the animal kingdom, and we refuse to acknowledge the debt. That's why the animals in Mahendra Shah's dream and in the book finally decide to break their silence.
They're holding up a mirror to the wise ones and saying, "Your wisdom is incomplete because it lacks gratitude."
It really makes you rethink the definition of progress. We usually think of progress as moving forward, new tech, bigger cities.
But this suggests that real progress might be looking sideways or looking down.
Or just remembering. The book suggests that we have forgotten our place in the web of life. We act like rulers of a hierarchy, but we are actually just strands in a web.
And if we cut the strands holding us up, the bees, the forests, the oceans,
we fall too.
So bringing it all together, we've got the word animal creating a false separation. We've got the illusion of wisdom masking destruction. And we have this choice
between being disruptors or harmonious. And we have the warning. The problem, as the book states so clearly, isn't a lack of information. We have the reports. We have the data. We know about the plastic.
The problem isn't that we don't know. The problem is that we aren't doing anything about it.
Correct. It's a lack of action. The book mentions a covenant, a sacred promise to live in reverence. And it asks the reader, and by extension us, to stop waiting for a political leader to fix it.
Because remember the Rio summit? That was over 30 years ago.
If we wait for the leaders to fix it, we'll be waiting until the forests are all gone. The question is personal.
Will you join the covenant? Will you continue to view yourself as a ruler, or will you accept your role as a member of a shared community?
The animals in the book are done waiting. The implication is that nature itself is done waiting.
You know, it reminds me of that feeling when you look at your dog or your cat, and just for a second, you wonder what they're thinking.
Yeah.
This book says, be careful what you ask, because they might just be thinking, when are you going to wake up?
And if they did ask that, what would our answer be? That is the question the awakening leaves us with. And honestly, it's a question we should probably try to answer before the summit becomes a reality.
A huge thank you to the work of Mahendra Shah for giving us this incredible perspective to chew on. It's a fable, sure, but it feels a lot more real than the news sometimes.
Absolutely. Sometimes fiction is the best way to see the truth.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you on the next one. Keep thinking.
And keep listening.